like your winners to be French and called Sebastien, then rallying is pretty much the motorsport discipline for you. Like, seriously, since 2004, all but one, yes, one rally championship has been won by a bloke called Sebastien. This guy right here, this is the guy that saved rallying. Now, I'll be straight up with you here. I've not really followed rally since Richard Burns died back in 2005, and I can tell you where I was when I saw the news that Burnsy had passed away. Now, being a kid that grew up in rural England, rallying was quite popular. A lot of the kids I went to school with were into it because of the Colin McRae games on the PlayStation and on the PC. So you were either Team Red or Team Blue, Mitsubishi or Subaru, Tommy Mackinnon or Colin McRae. But that was me. I was the Burnsy fan. I don't know what it is. I just like consistent and smooth drivers. So, story time aside, like I said, I've been out of the loop with rally for about 17 years or so, save for some key moments such as Chris Meek's Mexican car park Gymkhana from a couple of years ago, or the Samir you're breaking the car meme. I even downloaded Dirt Rally 2.0 so I could capture some B-roll for this video. Yeah, doing that with a Formula Rim was not easy. But back to drivers called Sebastien. Between 2004 and 2012, Loeb won the WRC Drivers' Championship 9 years in a row, which makes the record set by the likes of Schumacher and Hamilton in Formula 1 seem pretty insignificant when you think about it. And in the weekend just gone, Loeb won his 8th Monte Carlo Rally. 8th. You know, nobody won the Monaco Grand Prix that many times. Not even Graham Hill, and certainly not even Ayrton Senna. And the thing is, the Monte Carlo Rally win came just mere days, even a week or so after coming second in the Dakar. And he basically turned up to the Monte Carlo Rally doing very little, if any, testing and practice time. If practice is a thing in rally, I mean, they do like the shakedowns and stuff, but, you know, I don't know. Do they do that? But point remains, he just turned up and won. And he hasn't even done a full season since 2012. He's just been sort of doing it part-time for banter since. So then this gets me thinking, is Sebastien Loeb the greatest driver of all time? And this is something I've been talking to people about for a couple of days now because A, I've been out of the loop with rally for a long time, and B, I need to gather information to do this video. Hence the reason Wednesday's video is about this and not Monday's, you know, the day after he won. And the reason I suggest it is when it comes to the greatest drivers debate, it's always the same people brought up. Schumacher, Senna, Hamilton, Fangio, Clark. What do those drivers all have in common? They were all Formula 1 drivers, or at least drivers who had the majority of their success in Formula 1. And I asked this question about a year ago in another episode of Pressing Issues when it was like, you know, Vaseline on the lens, 1080p webcam I bought off Amazon style. But I think the conversation can actually be resurrected today because there is this belief that if you're not in Formula 1, you're not worthy. This guy's the greatest driver of all time. He won 7 Formula 1 world titles. This guy hasn't been in Formula 1, therefore he's not good enough. You know, the F1 rejects in IndyCar and the World Endurance Championship and Formula E thing that keeps popping up. Oh, he's a reject. He's F1 reject. Wasn't good enough for Formula 1. But I think the point remains that it's that snobby attitude of, yeah, he's the best. End of, because it was Formula 1. And I would go as far to suggest that, do we put Clark up there in consideration for the greatest driver of all time because Jim Clark won an absolute boatload of championships across many, many disciplines? Or do we put him up there as the best in that conversation because he was a Formula 1 driver? If Clark hadn't won 2 Formula 1 World Championships, would he still be in discussion as being the greatest driver of all time? Answers on a postcard, please. And many will go, yeah, but Clark won the World Championship twice. He won the Indy 500. He won the BTCC. He won in rally cars. He won in sports cars. He won in this. He won in this. He won in this. But Loeb isn't exactly a one-trick pony that can only drive French hatchbacks sideways. Loeb's CV is also pretty damn impressive. In 2006, Loeb finished 2nd overall at Le Mans with his race prep allegedly just being laps he turned on a PlayStation on the flight over. He's also had F1 tests with Renault in 2007 and Red Bull in 2008. He's also competed in Porsche Super Cup, the World Touring Car Championship, and in 2013 set the record for the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. A record that got beaten about 4 years ago by that all-electric Volkswagen IDR prototype monster thing that now also smashed the lap record at Goodwood, or the hill climb record at Goodwood, I should say. Oh, and another thing, he's also won the Race of Champions 3 times. On one of those occasions, he beat Michael Schumacher, a race that was an apples to apples comparison. You know, they're in the same car on the same track racing against each other. You know, like I say, he's not just a one-trick pony. Although, I will say, the commentators were less upset by Loeb beating Schumacher than they were by Carl Edwards beating Schumacher. And true, he participated in these series, while you look at Clark's records and see that Clark won the series that he competed in. But the point remains, when you're looking at debating who the greatest driver is, you have to look beyond Formula 1. Like I say, you have that snobbery of, oh, this guy never raced in Formula 1, so he can't be the greatest driver of all time. In the same way that people look at the professional footballers and go, Messi can't be considered the greatest because he never played in England. Well, never played in the Premier League. But neither did Pelé, nor did Maradona. And they get lobbed in the greatest footballer of all time debate. Now I need to put this into context for non-football fans, which is actually a tricky one. Wayne Gretzky never won an Olympic gold medal for Canada. I mean, Sergei Fedorov never won one for the Soviet Union or for Russia, but I mean, Patrice Bergeron's got an Olympic gold medal. Okay, probably not the best analogy. The thing about rallying is you can't really pin success on having the fastest car like people can in Formula 1. No use having the fastest car if you can't utilise that speed, but then again, saying that, where's Bottas's World Championships? The driver still has to get the thing around the stage without stuffing it into a tree or down a 300-foot cliff face. And Loeb has won the WRC 9 times. 9! And we think that Schumacher and Hamilton dominated, and maybe Vettel to an extent as well. But with Loeb, it looks like he seems to have this undeniable natural gift for car control. You know, the same thing that we see Senna get worshipped for, and people get misty-eyed about Senna ragging those 80s Formula 1 cars around tracks, and here's Loeb doing it like he's plugged into the fucking Matrix. Road and Track magazine used the funny as hell opening gambit for their article on the man in 2020. Well, they used this after saying Sebastien Loeb is the greatest driver who ever lived, and that was he collected the WRC titles like Pogs. And compared to other racing drivers, he actually started his professional racing career quite late. He was 28 when he broke into the WRC, and racing wasn't even his first career path. He'd actually started in gymnastics and was a 5-time regional gymnastics champion in his native France, which probably explains how a 47-year-old man was able to do a backflip on the podium on Sunday. Then after leaving school, he trained to become an electrician, but in 1995 he jacked the whole lot in to become a racing driver. However, there is a downside to all of this, which is what I've been tending to do in these sorts of videos, and that is look at both sides of things and then let you draw a conclusion in the comments. And that is what Loeb's dominance did for the WRC. Now, Road and Track, in their same article praising Loeb for his achievements, said that he'd effectively killed rallying. He was winning by minutes, and championships were being won with rallies to spare. And tuning in to watch like Formula 1 in 2002, 2004, 2011, 2013, 2015 and 2019 and 2020, well, tuning in was just utterly, utterly pointless because you knew who was going to win. And as Road and Track pointed out in their article, in the 9 years leading up to the Frenchman's first title, there were 5 different winners. Since 2004, 1. Loeb, and 1 manufacturer, Citroën. In 2012, after an undefeated streak of 9 years, he retired and is now turning up for a bit of banter. Maybe he just got bored of winning and went off to chill. There's pictures of him with beer in one hand, cigarette in the other, being quintessentially French. But even when Loeb did decide he'd had enough and walked away, it was another Frenchman called Sebastien that took over. Sebastien Ogier, who could have 9 titles of his own if he wins this year. And then looking up that list of winners, there's poor old Ott Tanak just sitting there, all alone. But still, when I'm asked to name the greatest drivers of all time, I still have Clark up there. Then you have to include Sebastien Loeb, and then, and only then, is it the likes of Schumacher, Senna, Hamilton, Stewart, Fangio, blah 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 blah. But what do you think? Is Loeb one of, if not the greatest driver of all time, like in terms of natural driving talent and ability? I mean, it is all opinion and we can debate it until the cows come home, but if you are going to discuss the greatest driver of all time, as we often do, just as a bit of fun, surely Loeb should be included. And Christensen for that matter, and Andretti. But, you know, leave any thoughts down in the comments section underneath this video in the predetermined conversation leaving zone and get a discussion going. It is, after all, why pressing issues exists. And while you're on your way down there, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you want to see more like this, make sure you're subscribed and that bell is on, so you never miss out on a future video. Massive thanks as ever go out to the good folk of Patreon for their continued support. If you want to help the channel at a more personal level to keep the quality of things around here up to its maximum, then the link to Patreon, along with Discord and my socials, will all be down in the description box for you. So until next time, I've been Aidan Millward. Have a great day wherever you are, and I'll see you all again very soon for some CAN F1 handle. So until then, goodbye.